Husband wants to name our baby after his late ex-wife because he believes it's a sign from the universe that she's being reborn. When I said no, he told me he wants a divorce because I don't understand him. Hi, so I'm in a very weird situation right now, and I don't know what to do about it. I'm pregnant, I'm almost 2 months along, and my husband, 34M, and I, 30F, have been happy about it. We got married about a year ago, after a 3-year relationship. Before me, he had been married to his late ex-wife, who he had been married to for 2 years before she passed away in a tragic car accident. They got married right out of college, after dating for 4 years, but by 26, he was a widow. He didn't get serious with anyone afterwards, until he met me. And I knew about his ex, her passing, and he likes to think of her fondly, and I'm respectful of it, of course. That was the first woman he ever loved, and I think it's very unfortunate what happened, but at the same time, my respect does not mean that I'm going to allow him to name our first child after her. And that's what he wants, and his family seems to be with him on this, which I just don't understand. A couple of days ago, his family had come over, and his mom had casually asked us if we had started thinking about baby names. I had said no, because we didn't even know the gender of the baby yet, and it was just way too early. But my husband had said yes, and he said that he had been thinking about naming the baby after his ex-wife, and when I brought up the fact that we didn't even know if it was going to be a girl, he said that we could just use a male alternative for the same name. The fact that he had given this so much thought was kind of disturbing for me. And I did consider talking to him about it later, once his family had left, but this was too important to wait. So I asked him if he was being serious, and he said yes, and apparently, he believes that this baby is his ex taking birth again. And the only reason he feels this way is because the due date that the baby is going to be born happens to be in the same month that his late wife had her birthday. That's what he is basing all of this on, and I find it beyond disturbing that he has considered this, but he never told me about it. I immediately shut down the idea, and I told him that we were not doing this. It was weird and creepy, and after all, this was my baby too, and I was not comfortable with it. But he started fighting with me, and even the rest of the family started taking his side, and pretty soon, things got very out of control. We were screaming at each other, and the family was trying to calm us down, but he called me oversensitive and jealous, and said that I was being insecure, which is why I did not want to pay tribute to his ex. That was not the case at all, and it was crazy that he couldn't see it. And even his family, while trying to calm us down, kept telling me that I should sleep on this and not overreact right now, because that's what I was doing, and I was being way too hormonal about this thing. It was very insulting to me, and after a while, I just snapped and I told them that I couldn't do this. I went to my room, I packed some stuff, and I left to be with my parents for a while. They tried to stop me, they told me that I was being over-emotional, but I didn't care, I just needed to be away from them. Now, for the past few days, I've been staying with my parents, and they are wholeheartedly with me on this. They have told me that I'm doing the right thing, so I've been fighting with my husband and I've been trying to get him to see my point. But he refuses to budge on this thing, and he's been trying to get me to change my mind now. I'm just very confused about what to do. Am I actually being too emotional about this? Ida for not agreeing to name my firstborn child after my husband's late ex-wife? Update 1. Hey, guys. Thank you so much for all the valuable input in the comments, it really means a lot to me, I appreciate it a lot. I did some thinking, and I decided to go back home and talk to my husband about this in private, without his family surrounding us and taking his side. I thought it would be better if it was just the two of us, because that way, it would be easier to get to him. And it was about time that we had a personal discussion about this, rather than arguing with each other on the phone and through text. It has been 6 days since I left, and last evening, I went over to see him. Even when I had made the effort to go and talk to him, after he opened the door, he was quite cold with me and nothing at all, like how he usually behaves. That really put me off, because I was going to be the mother of this man's child, and I couldn't believe that he was acting like this, especially when I had valid reasons to refuse what he wanted. Anyway, since I was there already, I decided that I should just get it over with and rip off the band-aid. So I told him that I did not think it was a good idea, and as calmly as I possibly could, I tried to explain how uncomfortable it all made me, and I told him that I did not find it heartwarming, like the rest of his family, but bordering on weird. Not just for him, but for both of us, and that's why I did not think it was a good idea. I basically just told him everything that I had been saying in my texts and on phone calls, but just in person, hoping that he would respond differently this time. But as you guys may have figured out by now, he did not. In fact, if anything, he reacted, even more vehemently this time around. He was quite against my idea of not naming our child after his ex, and he started to insist that we do, or else, he could not see a future with me together. That was crazy, the fact that I had been with him for so long, and we were on our way to having our first child together, and this was something that he was choosing to break up our marriage over. It just did not make any sense to me, and I had no idea why he was doing this. I tried to reason with him, telling him that he was being ridiculous and that he was going to regret this later, so he should probably just not say things that he did not mean. But he said that he really meant it. He did not want to be with me if I could not understand his feelings about this, and he had feared that I was going to react exactly like how I was doing now, which is why he had not discussed this with me before his mother had brought it up that other day. He started to tell me that his ex really meant a lot to him, and he thought that this was a sign from the universe, that our child was going to be born in the same month as his ex, and that's why he believed that it would be wrong of us not to take that into consideration while naming our child. He tried to make it seem like he was asking for very little, but that was actually not true. What he was asking for, it was insane, at least in my opinion. And after a while, it felt like we were just talking in circles, so I ended up breaking down on the couch beside him, because I just did not know what to say to him to make him see sense. I was regretting even coming over to talk to him at all, because clearly, he was not ready to hear me out at all. He was just stuck on his own beliefs, and that's all that he cared about. No matter how ridiculous or idiotic they sounded, that's all that he believed in and cared about. And the fact that he was even willing to jeopardize our marriage over this, after everything that we have been through, I couldn't make sense of it. In all honesty, I thought he was going crazy. Because apart from that, I couldn't think of any other explanation for his behavior right then. But when I started crying, he started being a little bit more gentle. Up until then, his tone had been very different. He was not exactly screaming at me like the other day, but I could tell that he was speaking quite high, just to intimidate me. However, after I started crying, he started speaking softly, which usually does, and tried to tell me that he was really sorry about being so crazy over this whole thing, but ultimately, this was really important to him and I needed to realize that. He told me that he had been thinking about this ever since he did the math and came to the conclusion about the due date, and he just couldn't ignore this sign. Apparently, it would be way too disrespectful to her memory, and he can't do that to her. He told me that it's not like he hasn't moved on from her, but he still loves her, and that does not take away from the fact that he loves me too. And he is also going to love our child. All he asks for is for me to at least consider what he is asking for, instead of outright rejecting it without even thinking about what it means to him. When I thought that he was being a little more reasonable, I decided to ask him if this was actually a deal breaker for him and if he had been serious about breaking up our marriage over this, like he had said in the beginning. He thought about it for a couple of seconds. He didn't even look at me and was completely silent, but then, he finally did look at me and he told me that yes, he was serious about that. Because apparently, in his opinion, if I refused this, it was like refusing to understand him as a person, and that, he could not deal with. He wanted his wife to be somebody who understood him on every level, who respected his opinions, and if I could not do that, then maybe we were better off not being married anymore. I was honestly shocked. I did not know what to say to that, because before, while I had thought he was acting crazy, at least I could believe that he was saying all this rubbish because he was not feeling right in the head or whatever. But when he said this so calmly, like he was being very rational and logical about all of this, it was harder to think that he did not mean it. At that moment, I knew that he was being serious, and there was nothing else for me to say to him. It was very disappointing for me, but after he said that, as if it was so normal, I decided to leave because honestly, he was not making any sense, and I did not want to waste more of my time and energy on him. After that discussion with him, I came back home, and I told my parents whatever he had said. They were shocked that he was actually considering a divorce over something like this, and they told me that they would like to talk to him themselves, just to try and see if they could get anywhere with him. But I told them not to bother, because I'm pretty sure that he would not be as kind to them, and I did not want that. Besides, this was between him and me, and I did not want my parents involved. So anyway, that's how it went with him, and right now, I just have no clue what to do about the situation at hand. It's crazy, it really is, and I can't imagine why he is acting like this. All along, I have always been very respectful of the relationship that he had with his ex, because it sounded like she was a wonderful woman, and from whatever I have heard about her, she was a truly good person. I respect that, I love that for him, but that does not mean that I have to do as he says when it comes to her. I'm not insecure about her, and neither am I jealous of her, it's just that I think it's hard for him to name his child after somebody he used to be married to. And as the mother, I think I should also have a say in something like this, so if this is a deal breaker for him, then so be it. I don't care about any of that anymore, to be very honest. Especially after what happened last evening. I don't even think that he's in his right mind anymore and knows what he's asking for right now. Update 2. Okay, so it's been 3 days since I last met my husband, and I know that a lot of people in the comments have said that I should file for a divorce, and I should start thinking about a custody arrangement or whatever, but in all honesty, I just haven't had the energy to do any of that. I know that I should do it, I'm aware of that, but emotionally and physically, I've been so drained that I haven't been able to do any of it. I've been crying every waking second unless I'm at work, but even there, people have noticed that I'm not behaving like I usually do, and it's been hard not to break down at work as well. The truth is, I'm not ready to leave him behind. I don't want to get divorced and I really want to work this marriage out. Because I love him, and I really miss him, and I can't believe that he's doing this to me. I hate him for that, I'm angry with him, of course, but even then, I just can't deal with the thought of ending this marriage and I can't understand how he said it so easily the other day. It just doesn't make sense, because literally just a few weeks ago, we were so happy, thinking about baby furniture, planning the nursery, and stuff like that, and now, we are thinking about divorce. So I don't even understand how any of this happened. I honestly feel like I'm going crazy right now. And the fact that I can't exactly talk to anybody about it has also not helped. The only time I get to talk about this freely is when I post here, and that's nice I guess, but it's not the same as talking to somebody in my life. I can't talk to my parents about this, because every time I bring it up with them, they get very indignant on my behalf, which I get. Honestly, I think it's sweet of them, but they keep telling me that I need to talk to him and get him to see that he's screwing up everything. They think that I should let him know that he is ruining everything for both of us, knock some sense into him, or otherwise, just speak to a divorce lawyer and get this over with so I can at least get through the rest of my pregnancy without dealing with him, because clearly, he's causing me a lot of stress, and that's not good for me or the baby right now. And they're right, I get it, but I just don't want any sort of advice right now. I just want to vent about what's going on with me, but they are my parents, and of course, they want the best for me, so they're going to tell me what they think. I don't want to fight with them either, so I've just not been saying anything. As for my friends, I can't speak to them about this either, because it's very personal. It's not like I didn't try. I did bring it up with my best friend, or rather I thought I would do it, but I just couldn't. So I've just been suffocating in silence, and it's been horrible. I have not even heard from my husband ever since I left the other day, so I really don't know what to expect from him either. I want him to talk to me, to try at least, and sort things out with me, but so far, he seems like he couldn't care less about what's going on. In fact, it has gotten to the point where I have started to think that maybe he has already given up on us, and I'm the only one holding on for God knows what reason. I feel like a fool, but I can't help it. I really do not want my child to grow up in a broken home, but now, I don't see any other alternative. It's definitely depressing, to say the least, but that's how it is right now. Update 3. Hi, everyone. So it's been a week and a half since I last posted here, and because I hadn't heard from my husband in a while, I decided to go ahead and take my parents' advice. They had already spoken to a divorce attorney for me. All we had to do was file the divorce. And we did, and a couple of days ago, he was served with the divorce papers. He finally texted me that day, asking me if I was serious about this and if I had thought this through. I didn't know what to say to him, so I didn't reply for a couple of hours, but then he called me up. I answered the call, and he did not seem to be too upset, but he just asked me the same questions once again very politely. So I told him that it was not like this was going to make me happy. I was quite upset about it, but then, given the way he was behaving, I could not see any other way out of this. Clearly, he was not happy, and if the only way to make him happy was to agree on the name of the child, then I'm sorry, but I couldn't do that for him. He continued to speak in that same toneless, emotionless voice, being very polite, and that was, for some reason, very infuriating for me because it felt like this was just a minor inconvenience for him. Anyway, he said that he's going to give me a couple of days to think about it so I can still stop the proceedings if I want to and change my mind about what he's asking for. But if, within the next 5 days, I did not change my mind, then he would sign the papers and we could go through with the divorce because clearly, we don't understand each other as well as we thought we did. And because of his tone, I ended up snapping at him, asking him if this was all a joke to him or something because otherwise, I could not see why he was acting like this was not a big deal. Then he told me that it definitely was a big deal for him as well, and he had expected me to try and talk to him again. He had been waiting for me to change my mind, but since I had decided that I was not going to do so, he didn't see the point of losing his temper at me because obviously, I did not care about him. He said that he was not really asking for much, just the freedom to name his first child, and if I couldn't even give him that, then that would obviously make him question his marriage and I couldn't blame him for that. Once again, he was speaking in that weird tone and I just did not know what to say to him at that point, so I hung up without saying anything else. And then I ended up crying for a couple of minutes before I received another text from him. He had typed out a long paragraph, basically telling me that all of this was happening because of my fault, because I was being way too stubborn and insecure and jealous, reiterating everything that he had said the first time around. He told me that he was also very disappointed that things had come to this and that he couldn't believe it either, because just a couple of weeks ago, we had been celebrating both of our first children and now, thanks to my stubbornness and refusal to understand simple emotions, we were on the verge of separating. He said that he was very disappointed in me, and now, he had started to rethink our entire marriage, and whether anything had been true at all. It was extremely insulting because I had always tried to be a good wife to him. No matter how much he spoke about his ex, how much he praised her, I never allowed that to get to me. I never got insecure, never got jealous, and instead, I always found it very endearing how he was so respectful and kind to her memories. But now that I look back on it, I guess I had been a little too optimistic and I did not realize that maybe he was not just looking back on her fondly. Maybe he was still in love with her and I was just a placeholder or something. I'm not saying that's how I actually was, because most of the time, I really did feel like he loved me wholly and truly, but then now, in hindsight, I don't know anymore. Now that I think about it, it does feel like he used to talk about his ex a little too much, but I never thought it was unhealthy. I guess that was my fault. I guess I hadn't realized what was going on and by the time I did, it was too late. Anyway, in that message, he completely ignored the fact that he was the one who had suggested getting divorced in the first place. I had just made the first move. He wanted it to be my fault. So fine, it is my fault, but I don't feel guilty about it anymore. I'm done with him, and I'm done with this marriage. I can't stay unhappy for the rest of my pregnancy and let him ruin this wonderful experience. I'm determined to make the most of it, so I've blocked him, and even though it's going to be very difficult for me, I'm determined to move on with my life now. He might be content, living in the past, but I'm not. I want to get ahead in my life. So yeah, I'm done, and if he thinks that this is all my fault, he's welcome to do so. I honestly just don't care anymore. Update 4. So it's been a couple of weeks since I posted. I was busy with the divorce and everything. The proceedings are ongoing, but it's a relatively straightforward process since he's not contesting anything. And we hope that this can be over in just a few months, or as quickly as possible. But that's not what I'm here to talk about, so this is actually about my in-laws. To them, I have not spoken to them since the first fight with my husband that I had, ages ago, when everything actually started. So I was quite surprised to hear from them, but anyway, my mother-in-law had called me up yesterday, and after thinking about it for a while, I decided to pick up. I was just curious as to what they would have to say about this whole thing, given the circumstances. When I picked up, my mother-in-law spoke, along with my father-in-law, and both of them together apologized to me for everything that had happened. That was quite surprising for me, because the last time that I had spoken to them, they had been siding with my husband. They were the ones who had told me that I was being over-emotional, so I couldn't understand this reaction. I was silent for a couple of minutes, so they went on to tell me that they were sorry for taking my husband's side the other day, but they know that he gets very sensitive when it comes to his ex-wife. They did not want to get on his wrong side, so they decided to speak up in his favor that day, which was obviously wrong, and they should have been with me all along, doing the right and logical thing. They explained to me that they had tried very hard to convince him in the past few weeks, but it had not worked. They had not reached out to me because they were ashamed of themselves for not standing up for what was right that day, but now, they felt like they had to apologize to me. They also told me that my husband had really not taken it well when his late wife passed away, which I can totally understand, but the problem is that even his parents feel that he never really got over it. So this just confirms my story, that maybe he is still in love with her, regardless of the fact that she's gone, and I will never be enough. Speaking to his parents just made me realize that I had done the right thing because I don't think I would have had the strength to make it with a man who was in love with somebody who was long gone. I don't have the strength to fight the memory of a woman, and neither do I wish to do so, because if I have to fight for him against someone else, then it's probably better if I leave. Anyway, I accepted their apology, because honestly, there was not much to do about it anyway. The damage had been done, he was too far gone, and our marriage was over. These were the facts, nobody could change that. Update 5. Hi, so it's been a couple of months since my last update. And yeah, I'm divorced now. I'm well into my pregnancy, things are going well on that front at least. Things have been difficult for me, emotionally, and mentally, but thankfully, I have my parents and friends by my side, and they have been extremely supportive. I did tell my friends about everything that I was going through eventually, because it's not like I was going to be able to hide a whole divorce, and all of them made sure that I was doing all right. So I'm very grateful for that. I did find out the gender of the baby eventually, it's a girl and I couldn't have been happier. My ex-husband does go to certain pregnancy checkups with me, and we have decided that we are going to put our differences aside and continue to co-parent our baby in the future, so we are formal and cordial with each other, but everything is just too fresh so it's not like I'm happy about it. Anyway, for my baby, I know that I'll have to do it, so it's fine. We have sold the house that we used to live in and from what I know, he has moved back into his old apartment, the one where he used to live before with his ex. So I guess I was not wrong about anything after all. It hurts, but I'll get over it, and I'll be fine.